I'm really excited to share with you my labor and birth story. So I'm going to just kind of narrate it because I didn't get every single bit on video. At times I was very busy, as you can imagine. This is my third baby. It was a planned home birth, just like our other two babies, but this was particularly magical and you'll soon see why. Okay, so it looks like today's the day. Yeah, I'd been feeling little niggly little things the last couple of days and was, realized that it was going to be soon. So this morning, the kind of little cramps that I was having, I wasn't sure if they were Braxton Hicks or what they were, but I started timing them and then realized after about a half hour of timing them, they're about 10 minutes apart. So rang my midwife and she's on her way. It's a beautiful sunny day. It is like 10 o'clock in the morning and I've had breakfast and I've just had a shower and I'm in a really good place. I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to meeting our baby. My husband is like getting the birth pool ready. The kids are helping him. My mom is on her way, so she'll just be like an extra pair of hands if the kids, need someone to watch them outside when things get a little bit more intense. But what I'm planning on doing right now is getting all my bits from my mother blessing and stuff from my birth toolkit and gonna go outside under a tree where I had my mother blessing and get into the zone and just start to really enjoy it. Once my midwife arrived, we had a little chat and she was kind of just seeing how I was, and we decided to do a VE, a vaginal examination, to see how far along I was. And when she did it, she was like, your cervix isn't ripe yet. So we kind of knew that it wasn't that far along yet, and which was kind of nice to know. It's because my second birth was so fast, I was worried that it would just boom, happen straight away. So that was, say, at about 11 a.m. And she was like, look, why don't you just go and rest and, save some energy for later. So I thought that was a great idea. I went to bed and I started to listen to some music. Krishna Das is what I always listen to in labor. I don't know why, it just brings me so much peace and joy. Like, I just love listening to his music. So I started listening to his music and I lay down and I rested for about an hour. The contractions continued, but I didn't bother to time them or anything. I just relaxed and actually slept in between getting the contractions until I came to a point where I couldn't do that anymore. They were getting a bit more intensive. So I just went into child's pose with a load of pillows and breathed through them for a little while until I felt like getting up. So then when I did get up, my midwife, we were chatting again and she's like, look, why don't you download this app? Each time you get a contraction, you just press the button. And so it's not as, it just makes it a little bit easier and you get kind of an overall picture after, let's say, half an hour or whatever. So I was doing that, and at the same time I was getting all my stuff ready because I wanted to go outside. So I was just like timing the contractions. They were still really manageable. Like, I could chat and walk around and then just stop, breathe through it, and then continue. So what I did was I got my husband's wireless headphones just hanging around my neck, and each time a contraction came, I just put in the music and, breathe through it, and it was grand. Like, and I set up I have a red throw with Ganesh on it. I set that out with a sheepskin rug to sit on, my bolster, and then all the things from my mother blessing. Like, I had statues and photos and pictures and cards and little symbols from nature and presents that people had given me from the mother blessing. I laid it all out in the candles, and I lit the candles, and I just had such a lovely time just being there. I'd say I was there for about an hour. It was like maybe early afternoon, 1 or 2 p.m. And I just breathed through each contraction. I had the music on the whole time, and just looking around me just filled me with such joy. It was just so beautiful. Like, the sun was shining, it was coming in and out of the clouds, and like I was under the tree in the garden and the birds were singing and the cockerel was making loads of noise next door. Like, it was just heaven. Like, it was like a slice of heaven, and having all those things around me just filled me with such love, It was just like the perfect setting.
What's happening?
Right now I have a break between contractions and I'm really enjoying this fruit salad. Thank you so much. It just feels really nice to be back here under the tree with all my lovely bits. And the breeze is just lovely. It's a beautiful day. So it's a few hours later. I think it's about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm sitting outside under the same tree that I had my mother blessing at, and it's just so beautiful. I've got all the bits out, candles are lit, and all the affirmations and pictures, and I'm gonna have to just take a minute now. Okay, back again. I just had a contraction there. They're coming maybe about 5 minutes apart now. And yeah, so it's going well. I might not do another update until the baby is born. So yeah, feeling good and feeling positive. I'm really excited to meet my baby and enjoying this daytime labor. I've never experienced it before, and it's going slower than I expected, but that's good. I think it's less intense, and yeah, just waiting to see when the baby is ready and going with the flow. That's all I can do. Then my midwife came out, she just looked to see how the contractions were and chatted to me, and she's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm great. And she's like, this is beautiful. And I was like, I know. Then I had to just do a wee. So I was like, look, I'm going to go back inside, but I'm going to leave all my stuff here because I want to come back outside again. And she's like, yeah, no problem. It's good to keep your bladder empty. And so I went to the loo, and my husband was making lunch. So I was like, I was like, oh, will I go back outside again? And my midwife was like, look, you probably should eat something, keep your energy up. So I sat down and I had some lunch. Really, I did not feel like eating, to be honest. Like, I just felt like getting back in the zone. But I did know that having something to eat would be really good, like really beneficial to have that energy. So I ate, and we were all sitting around the table, like my 2 children, my mom, my midwife, my husband, a student midwife as well. And we were having our sandwiches and tea and having great chats. And every time a contraction would come, I just put in the music, breathe through it, and then take it back out and like be there again. It was like I was there, but I was conscious of being in my own space when I'm going through a contraction. But it was great. Like, it was just a lovely little moment having lunch there together. And then when I finished eating, I was like, I'd like to go back outside again. My midwife said, that's fine. If it happens that you give birth outside, that's fine. I'll just bring all the stuff outside. No problem. I was like, oh, nice one, So I just asked my husband to walk me out, because I knew like I wouldn't get out to under the tree before another contraction happened. So he did. And on the way, I'd say that I finished lunch at about 3 p.m. And on the way back to the tree, I had to stop twice. And I got some pretty strong contractions at that point. And I just held on to my husband and we just swayed. We were just standing up. And it was just so beautiful, like being outside and having his support and just leaning into him through the contractions, and it was just amazing. So I had 2 before I actually got to the spot under the tree. We sat down and it just like intensified like that, it was in like manageable stage of like really enjoying it. And oh yeah, the endorphins. I have to talk about the endorphins, because the first time I was outside in the garden and under the tree, I started to experience the endorphins at the end of each contraction, and they were amazing. Even when I was in having lunch, like I could still feel the endorphins. And I told Angela, my midwife, I was like, oh, the endorphins are amazing. And she was just like, great, and it's like a gift from nature, getting those endorphins at the end of each contraction, because they just make you feel amazing. Like they're just out of this world, But anyway, back to the story. We were under the tree and I was kneeling and kind of leaning forward on my husband, on his kind of shoulders. And the contractions started to get really intense. Like, I had to start moaning, and we put on the TENS machine, but honestly, it was like, it was too much hassle at that point. It was like, because it intensified so quickly, there was like no point in really having a TENS. I was just using my breathing, listening to the music. One other thing I was doing that really felt so nice was holding my rose quartz stone. I held that almost up to the very end. While I was kneeling and holding on to my husband, pretty soon after we had come out and the contractions were very intense, I felt my waters break. And they had, in the meantime, my midwife had gotten towels and gotten the incontinence sheets, brought all of her stuff outside. I guess she realized things were happening quite quickly, so everyone was outside at that point. My mom and my kids were down kind of a little bit further down the garden. We have quite a big garden, thankfully, and they were down a bit further down the garden reading a book about birth, Hello Baby, and it's a book that I read to them all during my pregnancy, and it's a book I read to my daughter all during the pregnancy of my first son. And it was like just the perfect thing for them to be doing. Like, it was amazing. So they were there, but they weren't like on top of us, which was really nice. Like, I could see them, and I knew they were fine. After my waters break, it became even like very, very intense. I had short spells of kind of relief between the contractions, and I just remember my midwife saying, now just breathe. And it was just lovely, because I just got to breathe, deeply between those contractions, and I started to use sound. I just let out whatever sound felt good to me at the time, and it was a huge relief to do that. And from the time that I went outside after lunch till the time of the birth was only 17 minutes. I just breathed, used sound, and I just used a lot of the strength from my husband. He was amazing, just like a pillar of strength in front of me. And my midwife, just checking the baby and just being there for me. It was like, I just felt really, really supported and loved. And the sun was coming in and out and there was a light breeze. It was just so beautiful. It was like the perfect place to give birth. So in the middle of the really intense part of birth, the second midwife arrived, and I hadn't met her before. My midwife said, "Oh, Anya's here, she's your second midwife." So I just kind of looked up and just gave her a thumbs up because I couldn't do anything else. I was too busy birthing. My baby then was born in a couple of contractions. I could feel his head, and my midwife said, "Would you like to actually feel his head?" And I did, and that feels so empowering to do that when you're in the middle of giving birth, because you realize how close they are to being born. Within 2 contractions he came out, and there was a lot of hindwaters, and it was such a relief. That part of the birth after his head came out was just the biggest relief ever. And my midwife caught him, and then my husband said, "Okay, well, there goes the house." And I was like, oh, I knew it was a boy. Because I guess we have this phrase that girls break your heart and boys break your house. So but we didn't care what we had. We just wanted a healthy baby, and he came out, and he did have the cord wrapped around his neck, but my midwife took it off and helped him to get him started breathing. And then she passed him through to me into my arms, and he's perfect.
I'm doing it right now. No, trust me. Dexterity is not a problem.
I just sat there holding him, just leaning on my husband and taking it all in. It was just an amazing experience, that to give birth like that outside in Ireland, hello. So we stayed there for a little while until the cord stopped pulsating, and my husband cut the cord and he helped me walk inside. He had the pool all ready to go, so I just went and got in the pool, and that was just lovely. I sat in the pool with my baby, he latched on, and it was just such a lovely thing to get into the pool after having given birth, having a bath, and you've done all the hard work already. It's just amazing. And as soon as he latched on, then I did start to feel more contractions and knew that the placenta was going to come soon. We did wait for about an hour for that to happen, but it happened naturally, and that was a great relief as well once the placenta was out and it was intact, and all was well. I felt so good. I gave the baby to my husband and got dried and went into bed. And my kids were in and out all the time, you know, when I was in the pool, and they wanted to see the placenta because they knew all about placentas from that book that they had been reading. And yeah, they were really, really excited to meet their brother. And when we were still outside, my kids came over after the baby was born, and they got to see him. They got to see their dad cut the cord. You know, they were part of it. They weren't like in beside me during the whole thing, but they were in and out. You know, they were coming and going and seeing what was going on. And my daughter even said afterwards, you know, that she was watching me the whole time that I was giving birth, but she didn't really like the sounds. I mean, she knew to expect them, but I guess she didn't like to know that I was in pain. But she sat on a blanket like down the garden watching, and my son, who's 3, he kept running up, looking but not coming too close, and then running back down to my mom and my daughter. So it's like they were there and experienced it, but they weren't like hands-on, you know, which was perfect. So then once I was in bed, I was checked and stuff, and I had no tearing, which was fantastic. My husband popped open the champagne. Me, my husband, my mom, and the 3 midwives, we all like had a glass of champagne, and we made a toast to my baby. And that was like in my bedroom, and my daughter was there, and my son as well, and my daughter had a little sip. So yeah, that was lovely. It was just, everyone was on a high, I think, you know. It was my second midwife that did like the newborn checks, you know, with my baby, and she did it with my daughter, who was helping to count the fingers and the toes. And yeah, it was just really lovely. They weighed him. He was 7 pounds 1 ounce, which is actually my biggest baby so far, because my other 2 were 6'12" and 6'11", but all in around the same weight, more or less. So yeah, he was here, and he was perfect.
Can you feel this little soft bit here?
That's more wet to me.
Have a look at his ears.
He definitely has 2 ears.
Definitely has 2 ears. Do you have 2 eyes?
2 eyes, 1 mouth, 1 nose.
Let's have a little look up. Very good.
2 knees, 1 tongue.
He has 1 tongue. Yeah, I'd say he's a slight tongue tie there.
Yeah, he does.
Now, what about under his arms? Any hair under his arms?
No way.
Oh, yes. His little belly button. Nice cord. Yeah. Oh, he's perfect, aren't you?
We were all on a high, like from such an amazing birth. I still can't believe it. I still can't believe that I gave birth outside under a tree in my garden in the sunshine. Like, it's just, it was magical, and I'm so grateful for the experience, and I'm grateful that the HSE offered this, you know, like this is my 3rd birth under the HSE. Like that's just amazing. Home births, like, you know, and I'm so grateful for my midwife, who was just amazing. And yeah, like what a way to show my children how birth can happen, you know. Hopefully it's something they'll never forget, and it's certainly something that I will never forget for as long as I live. And yeah, just that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks a million for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed this story. And if you would like to, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel to, you know, keep up to date on my journey of, you know, parenting this little one. Take care. Namaste.